Hi, I'm Margot Austin.
And I'm Mackenzie Rossero. We're here with Miami Television News.
I'd like to welcome Daniel Handler, also known as Lemony Snicket,
Hello.
author of the series of unfortunate events. Mr. Handler, it is wonderful to have you here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here to your beautiful studio.
Thank you.
How long have you been co-hosts?
A little while now. We work
About a
together.
year.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, pretty often. Yeah. It's very
And
cool.
what
She's
is your
pretty
working
awesome.
relationship
dynamic
like? Are you
duo.
equals?
Yes. Oh, yes. We work together very well.
Are you constantly jockeying for power?
Well, it's a struggle every now and then. Every now and then we have to I do Margot, take a breather. But then she'll
Oh,
try
yeah.
to be like, next time you need to take a breather.
We
Okay.
work well
Works out
together.
okay.
We balance
Yeah,
each other
we
out.
balance each other
Right.
very
I'm
well.
trying to figure out which
Thank you.
one is the bad influence and which one is the
Depends.
innocent young thing.
Depends on the day,
Yeah.
All right.
honestly.
You'll have to let us know.
I believe
wanna
it's
hear the
Monday.
verdict
Okay,
at
yeah.
the end.
I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, right. You have questions for me.
If we get to them,
Yeah.
No
No, well,
worries.
this is just small talk. Perhaps it will be edited out.
I don't know.
We don't know.
We'll see.
We're not sure yet.
That's right.
We'll see.
We'll throw some movie clips in or something. We'll do something.
A little montage. It'll
Yeah, that's right. Dolphins. People love to look at dolphins.
Okay.
Okay.
So I wanted to ask.
I'm ready.
So you write very unique stories, very compelling characters.
Thank you.
You put them through a lot, though.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask. You've got all of these things going on. Where do you get the inspiration for the series of unfortunate events, specifically, but anything really? I guess I know you've written.
Where do I
a few
get
different
inspiration?
genres. Yeah. Like if you
Um,
had to narrow it down.
I spend a great deal of time reading strange things that people have written down over the history of literature and then wandering around my gray and gloomy city thinking gloomy and perhaps gray thoughts and writing them down in a little notebook that I carry with me wherever I go. I'm taking it out so everyone can see what a notebook looks like in case you've never seen one. And that's where I get my ideas, from literature and from life.
Very nice. Do you have any specific strange thing that you like the most? You said you read a lot of strange things.
Oh, right now I'm reading a lot of old Japanese folk tales. They're pretty strange. French symbolist poetry, that's strange. So there's some modern Nigerian novels that I've dug into lately. They're pretty interesting. Yeah, just kind of the whole history of people writing things down. The history of literature is kind of the history of strangeness.
That's true.
So the more you read, the more strange things you will encounter.
Thank you, Mackenzie, for your first question. So my
That was a
question.
good segue.
Oh,
I
thank
noticed
you.
you guys are learning the
Appreciate that.
segue
Yeah,
thing.
tag team. You see
Yeah.
this dynamic duo?
That's
We
right.
just
You
know-
can't hire
There you
just
go.
one of you. Both of
Exactly.
you are going to be snatched up as a package by some major news network.
That's the goal.
Okay,
We
sorry.
hope so. So,
But I derailed the segment by calling
It's
attention
okay.
to it.
It's all right.
Yeah.
so did you ever have any similar experiences to those of your characters in any of your novels? It doesn't have to be the series of unfortunate events, but of any of your characters.
Well, yeah. I mean, how couldn't I have? Yeah, I definitely have. I spent my childhood, thinking about terrible things happening, even though for the most part terrible things didn't happen, and wandered the bewildering world looking for meaning and order in the chaos and tumble of ordinary life. Yeah, but people in my books have done all sorts of things, so it's hard to say. My last novel for adults is called, or most recent novel for adults is called All the Dirty Parts, and it is about sex. And we don't have to go into too much detail, but I'm not a virgin, so that would be an example where I've done something that a character in a book has also done, though he does it a lot.
So you would say, growing up to now, you've used experiences throughout your life for characters in your novel.
Definitely. I try to warn people when I meet them that if they tell me something interesting, that I might use it in some way.
It's very
You
good.
better come up with something.
Yeah, or
Get
not
featured.
come up with
Or
something,
not.
depending on whether
Yeah.
you want yourself in there or not.
We'll have to see.
That was good. It was a good banter in there.
Thank you.
Then a look that indicated that the next question would come from you.
So like we said, you've done multiple different audiences, different genres, but the series of unfortunate events does focus on 3 young orphans.
Yes.
So why did you choose to write this type of story about kids and for kids?
I thought it would be interesting to have terrible things happen to children over and over again. And when I was a child, that's what I liked thinking about and reading about. And so I came up with 3 children who I hoped would be compelling, as you said at the start of this interview when you complimented me. And I thought it would be interesting to just have a kind of parade of terrible things happen to them. It turns out other people were interested. That's really the shocker. The shocker is not that I was interested, but that other people were interested.
I guess that's true.
Thanks.
Well, now I'm going to do the same thing I've been doing. Bounce right off Mackenzie's
Got
last
it.
question.
Good.
So
Yeah.
a lot of us.
Now it's like a meta segue.
Yeah, you know exactly what's coming now.
Yeah,
We're just
exactly.
cycling through.
Right.
So,
Fans of the show will be unsurprised to hear that they'll take turns asking questions.
yes, we will. Well, I don't know. Maybe we'll surprise
Maybe
you.
we'll
Oh.
mess it up at one point.
You
Yeah.
don't know. You don't know.
You'll have to see.
We'll have to stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned. We'll see later in the news. So, my next question for
I'm ready.
you. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Are you ready?
I don't know.
Okay, so a lot of us grew up reading the series of unfortunate events.
Sorry about that.
So, back we talked about the 3 kids and Count Olaf. If you had to pick one of the children or Count Olaf, which character do you relate to the most? If you had to pick.
If I had to pick,
Yes.
I'm trying to unpack the circumstances under which I would have to pick. Like someone who's like, we have your family.
Gun to the head, yeah.
Gun to the head. And then I would
Not
just
to
say
get
whatever.
too-
I would just say whatever I wanted to get my family free. Do I most relate to? Is that what you said? I think that's what you said.
Yes, relate to.
I think probably Klaus because I'm incredibly bookish. I wish I related to Violet because she's so extraordinarily capable, or Sunny because she's really tough. I don't really relate to Count Olaf because I try to keep evil away from my life.
That makes sense.
That does make
I
sense.
do that too.
Yeah,
Yeah. Most of us
because
do.
no matter how hard you still get a chunk in there is
Yeah.
the thing.
So if you could aspire to be one,
Oh,
would that be a different answer?
Right. Well, I think he kind of just answered that.
I think
with
so, yeah.
Violet
It would be
and-
Yeah.
Violet.
I think
A little
so.
bit of everybody.
Aspire, yeah. I mean, obviously, I would want to be capable, literary, and tough all at once.
Right.
like-
I think they each have certain characteristics that make them unique, and you aspire to be
about
each a combo of both. I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
I mean,
The
of all
total
of them.
package.
Like, wouldn't you like the
Right.
kind of best of your family all rolled into you?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
You don't have to tell me about your family if you don't want to, because I understand it might be a sensitive topic. And
That'll
you're
take
not
all
the guest
day
on
if
the
we're
program.
talking
I
about.
think we're talking about
Oh,
you
look,
today.
they know each other's
Yeah.
family. That's interesting to me.
All right, so I'm going to throw you a curveball and ask
Okay, I'm
the
ready.
second question.
Oh, wow, what?
ready?
That's
I know.
crazy. I've got to keep watching this show. You never know what's going to happen.
So obviously you've done well as a writer. You've been successful.
Thank you.
And I'm sure you've learned a lot along the way. And
I hope so.
I hope so too.
Yeah.
You've been at it a little while. So I'm also an aspiring author. I'm sure many people who are going to watch the show or maybe even are here today are
Hi,
aspiring
people.
writers. So do you have any advice for people who are trying to get into the field or trying to succeed in the field?
Oh, gosh.
kind of
I
a
have
tough one.
sympathy and pity, I think is what I have more than advice.
Yeah,
It's hard.
that's
It's
no
It's
question.
lonely to write, and it's very lonely when you're writing and you feel that no one is paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
That's hard. And then it's just kind of lonely to feel that maybe relying on people paying attention is probably the wrong way to go. But then it's lonely anyway. So I have a lot of sympathy and pity for people who want to be in literature, but also a sense of camaraderie. We're all in it together. Literature is the history of human consciousness transcribed onto paper, or in some cases like a Kindle.
That's true.
That
It
is
is
true.
definitely a difficult place to make your
Yeah.
way.
I like that you might fall back on TV host though,
You never
because
know.
that's super
We'll see.
reliable.
I know.
That is steady work.
I know.
Yeah.
My options are just.
They're always hiring TV
know.
hosts.
Yeah, you're all over the
Yeah.
place.
Yeah, I
You're
know.
here and here.
Yeah.
All right, so
Okay.
kind of going off that. So your series has been made into a movie that a lot of us have seen,
Yeah?
as well as a Netflix original show.
I heard
so
about that,
can
too.
you talk about how you had the opportunity to turn your series into both a movie and then now a Netflix original? Let's
It's
talk
crazy,
about this.
I would say. It's a crazy thing that happened. First, as we said, as it turned out, more people were interested in suffering happening over and over to children than I ever thought. And then it's true, a movie company came and they said, we would like to make a movie from a series of unfortunate events. And I said, well, okay, And then they did, which is very surprising, because usually movie companies say we would like to make a movie and then nothing happens.
Right.
That's usually what happens. And so then it happened. That's weird. They built many sets and what they kept calling an abandoned aircraft factory, but it was not abandoned because it was full of hundreds of people building sets. And that's what they did in the movie. And then not that many years later, I mean, a good chunk of years, but in terms of the history of the world, not very many years later at all, Netflix came in. They said, what if we made a whole TV show out of it? And I said, okay, thinking to myself, well, usually when a television company says they would like to make a show out of your books, nothing happens. And then they did. It's very strange. Who would do such a thing?
It's very exciting too, though.
It's all Netflix.
It is exciting. It's dizzying. It's bewildering. It's befuddling.
For sure.
Yeah.
So is that why there wasn't a continuation of movies and they decided to do the TV show instead? What's the reason for only
Well, there was
having one
talk
movie?
of another movie back in the day, and then what usually happened, which is that they didn't do it. They talked about it for a while, and then they said, oh, maybe we will. No, we won't.
But it's nice with a TV show because it's like a series now.
Yes, they're filming the whole
thing
thing because the actors who play the Baudelaires are getting old so quickly. I mean, not old.
But you can
but-
tell with kids.
Yeah, we didn't want to wait too long because we didn't want the Baudelaires to look like adults. And so the audience would say, why don't you just quit and get jobs? Why are you worrying about having guardians? You're too old for guardians. So they're filming it in a hurry. So they've just finished filming season 2, which will be out at the end of March. And then
Right, I saw
they're filming season 3 like right now, probably. What time is it?
5 o'clock.
Yeah, right now, because they're filming it on the West Coast.
It's
So they're not
exciting.
nowhere near done. It's 2 p.m. on day umpteenth of filming The Slippery Slope.
And going off that, sorry, then you can go into your question. So how do you feel about the portrayal of the characters in both the movie and the TV show?
How do I feel about
Do
it?
you think they are portrayed the way you wanted them to be in the book?
I feel fascinated by the whole thing. It's interesting to me to see what it is, and that I hear from some people who say, this is exactly like I pictured, and I hear from other people who say, oh my gosh, they're doing it all wrong, and all of that is interesting to me, because I think you read a book and then if you like it or you're otherwise fascinated by it, it stays in your head and you think about it and it bleeds into your own life. I get drawings from many young people all over the world who are drawing the Baudelaires, and they're often drawing people who look like them, who are dressed like people dress wherever corner of the world they are. And that's interesting to me, and it's kind of a similar thing to think, oh, what is Neil Patrick Harris going to do? Let's see what he does.
Are you involved?
I was involved for a while in both things, and then I stopped being involved because they like to say, what do you think? And then they say, we're tired of actually hearing what you think. So, but they do it. It's totally fascinating to me. And it's a change from my usual work, which is where I'm alone in my office or in a cafe or a library working all by myself. And then to go someplace where hundreds of people, literally hundreds of people, are working on a thing that I've made is very fascinating to me. I like watching it.
It's really interesting, I'm sure, to like see the finished product and like kind of see the transition between what you imagined and what happened to.
Yeah, or just there'll be some part that's really hard that they'll just do because the baby won't walk down the hallway the right way, or the certain camera angle just won't get in there, and they'll just do it over and over and over again, and then finally it's just done, and there it is, and hardly anyone thinks of it. Hardly anyone watching it thinks, wow, how do they get that baby to go down that hallway? They just think, oh, look, it's happening. So I like that, when there's some part that took forever, and then you just see it in there, and it's like one little bit of stitching, and no one knows how hard you worked on it.
Right.
And I have to ask.
You have to ask.
I have to. Why Lemony Snicket? Why did you choose that as your pen name? Or even why a pen name at all?
Well, Lemony Snicket is the narrator of various books, and I thought it would be fun to publish the books under the name of the narrator rather than the name of the author, because who cares about the author, really?
I think it's interesting that way as well, because there are so many books that are written from like that first person point of view that is maybe omniscient, maybe you don't actually get to meet the narrator, but they're talking I this, I that.
Right.
And then there are some books that are written and it's supposed to be like assumed that the narrator has written the book. But rarely do you get books where you actually follow through with that the entire way and put that person as if they are a real, I guess it is you in a way, but as if that narrator is a character who wrote the book.
Yeah, well, I've had a really great editor, Susan Rich, and great publishing houses that have been totally up for that kind of experimentation. So it was interesting to do. I've had a fascinating time. Never did I think in my whole life that I would have been in a TV studio in Oxford, Ohio. And yet here I am.
Here you are.
How strange and wondrous it is.
You never know.
Yeah.
So,
Did you think you were going to be co-host from the moment you met?
No.
No, we
Can't say so.
actually had class together freshman year, and then we ended up getting involved with the news station, and then here we are.
Here we are.
Here we are. So, jumping back into things.
Yes.
So I'm gonna go back. Kind of, we touched upon this question a little bit, but I want
ready.
you to talk a little bit more about it. So, as you said, the Netflix show, they're coming out with a new season at the end of March, you said?
Yep.
So what else do your fans have to look forward to? I know you also said you're
What
working
else do my
on some
fans have to look
upcoming
forward
projects.
to?
Yes.
Death. It's waiting for all of us. Oh, you mean what from me? What do they have to look forward to?
Both. Well, I was gonna.
Yeah,
We were gonna
I mean,
tie
I hope
into
they
everything.
have fulfilling lives before that, but I don't know what they have to look forward to. I don't want to say they can look forward to, a happy and successful marriage. Maybe some of them are married. So maybe some of them will never be married, and maybe some of them will live in despair the whole time. So it's hard to generalize. You mean, what am I working on?
Yes.
Okay. Well, this fall, there's a Lemony Snicket book out called Poison for Breakfast,
Okay.
which is a kind of philosophical mystery that investigates a poisoned breakfast. But it is mostly a book about death. So in that way, when I said that they had to look forward to death, it was, not only their own deaths, but the book that Mr. Snicket will present to them in the fall.
Great.
What about you
Well,
guys?
we're
What do you guys
excited.
have going on? What are you doing this summer?
Oh boy, way to put us on the spot
I
here.
thought this was about
So you can play at this game. I'm not really that interested in myself is the thing.
Well, I will be in Florence this summer.
Really?
So that will be
I'll be in
there.
Florence for part of the summer.
No way.
Campari!
There we
Wow.
go.
I will be in Tanzania for 2 weeks on a safari.
Beautiful, but I won't be there, so I can't high-five you.
Wow.
No.
Other than that, I do not know where I'm going to get an internship yet. I am in the process of
All right.
looking.
She's
so we will
available.
see.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm available.
For intern-hungry
We're in
viewers.
the
That sounded wrong. But yeah, who knows? This could be the big interview that gets you, like, where would you want to intern? Where would be the best spot?
NBC, New York.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah,
Okay.
I love New York.
That would be glamorous.
Yeah.
Yeah, not as glamorous as Florence, though, let's face it.
Right. Yeah, Florence, I mean, hard to compare to Florence.
Yeah.
All right, well,
right.
before we get too far into ourselves, we want to tie back into you.
I'm ready.
Yes. And
So
I
we are
think-
going to ask some questions
Yes, we have some other
from
media
the
students.
audience. So we're going
Oh.
to toss it to them.
It feels like an infomercial a little bit. Like, who here needs a blender?
Actually, do you need a blender?
I'm not giving you one.
You said that you offer sympathy and pity to aspiring writers just now.
Yeah.
So, personally, is writing something that you feel like you want to do, or is it something that you have to do? Do you have sympathy and pity for your own writing?
Well, I have sympathy. What I mean by having sympathy and pity for beginning writers is that it's tough to be a beginning writer and it's tough to establish yourself as a writer. The actual part of writing is really glorious to me. And if you don't like writing, you definitely should not be a writer because that's a big part of it. So I enjoy writing a lot. I just have sympathy for the loneliness and for the steep uphill climb that trying to be a writer as a profession can be.
Of all the books you have written, which one has been your favorite to write?
My favorite to write. Oh goodness, I don't know. I've had fun and also horror, I think, with every single book that I've written. You have some good days writing and you think to yourself, well, what a wonderful profession this is and how easy everything is. And then you have a horrible day or if you're in collaboration with somebody else and that doesn't go well, you begin to think, well, this is terrible. I don't think I've ever written a book that at some point I didn't think to myself, this is the worst book that is ever going to exist in the history of the world. But then also where I've said, oh my goodness, this is going to completely revolutionize the literary world. So it's a kind of schizophrenic existence, I think, writing from day to day.
And then which has been your favorite character to write and develop?
Which is my favorite character? I don't know. I kind of wander around. In All the Wrong Questions, there's a character named Ellington Faint, and I liked thinking about her for a long time. There's also a creature in All the Wrong Questions called the Abominating Beast. I liked thinking about the creature for a long time, too. I just wrote this book that I mentioned, All the Dirty Parts, and the hero of that book is named Cole. I liked thinking about him because I would eavesdrop on a lot of young men who were talking about their romantic and sexual lives on the bus. And I liked thinking about building a person from that. That seemed interesting to me. I don't know. They're all like people. You spend time with them and they drive you nuts. You go spend time with another person.
Your quote from When Did You See Her Last? The quote, one should never ignore bullies, one should stop them. Was there an experience that led to the inspiration behind this?
I mean, I just think the experience of difficult people in the world and difficult people who are feeling powerful over you or who you are feeling have power over you. It's frustrating, it's hard.
Besides being one of them being fictitious, what are the differences between Daniel Handler and Lemony Snicket?
Well, I would say that general anxiety level and erudition is higher on the part of Mr. Snicket than it is for me, Daniel Handler. He wears a hat more often. I'm sure there are other differences too.
Alrighty, guys. Well, that looks like it's all the time we have today. So
I think it's all the
thank
people
you.
we have. I think that's actually the thing.
Thanks for all the great questions, guys. And Mr. Handler, thank you so much for
It was
your
lovely to meet you
amazing
both. I thought you did
answers.
a very good job.
Thank you.
And based on my observations during the interview, I know which one of you is the bad influence. I figured it out.
Do we get to hear?
No.
Uh-oh. It's going to be in his next
Tune
book.
in next week.
Tune in.
I'll tell you then. Except I won't be here.
We'll read about it.
Yes.
Somewhere.
I'm Mackenzie Rossero.
I'm Margot Austin.
And I'm Daniel Handler. Thank you.
For MTN.